My name is Vanessa Holloway, and I'm 34 years old. 3 months ago, I stood outside a courthouse holding a cardboard archive box that contained every piece of my childhood. Birth certificates, canceled checks, property records, letters, photographs, a faded journal written in my grandmother's handwriting. When the judge asked if I wished to make a statement before the settlement became final, my parents looked at me with complete confidence. They still believed I had come there to forgive them. Instead, I handed the judge one photograph, just one. It was taken on my 8th birthday. Everyone in the picture was smiling. Except me. No one had noticed. Not then. Not for the next 26 years. The courtroom became so quiet that I could hear someone in the back row coughing. My father slowly reached for the photograph. His hands began to shake before he even touched it. He finally understood what I had known for months. The lawsuit had never been about money. It was about proving that I had disappeared from my own family long before they admitted I even existed. I should probably explain how everything started, because no family collapses in a single day. It happens one ignored moment at a time. Growing up, everyone thought we were the perfect family. We lived in a quiet neighborhood outside Minneapolis. Beautiful brick house, perfect lawn, matching Christmas decorations every December. Every Sunday, my parents posted family photos online. People constantly commented, "Beautiful family. Goals. You're raising wonderful children." If strangers judged our lives by social media, they would have believed we were the happiest people in America. They never saw what happened after the camera was put away. My younger brother Caleb was the center of every room he entered. He wasn't cruel. He wasn't spoiled. He simply grew up believing the universe naturally revolved around him because everyone around him behaved as if it did. When Caleb laughed, everyone laughed. When Caleb cried, everyone rushed to comfort him. When Caleb won, the whole family celebrated. When I accomplished something, people smiled politely before changing the subject. At first, I thought that was just how older siblings lived. Adults always said the same thing. "You're the mature one. You're independent. You're easy. You never cause problems." I accepted those words as compliments. It took me 34 years to realize they were excuses. One memory has stayed with me longer than any other. I was 10 years old. My elementary school held a Young Inventors Fair. For 3 months, I worked every afternoon building a small water filtration system from recycled bottles, sand, charcoal, and gravel. My science teacher loved it. She entered me into the county competition. The night before judging, I proudly placed the project on our dining room table. Dad barely glanced at it. "Looks nice," Mom smiled. "I'm sure you'll do great." Then Caleb walked into the kitchen, holding a baseball glove. "Dad, can you throw with me before it gets dark?" Dad immediately stood up. "Absolutely." They walked outside. My project remained untouched on the table. I stood there alone, listening to baseballs hitting leather through the open kitchen window. The next afternoon, I won first place. There were reporters, parents, teachers. Other families brought flowers. Some grandparents cried. When they announced my name, I looked across the audience. 2 empty seats, reserved for my parents. They never came. Later that evening, Mom hugged me quickly while cooking dinner. "We're proud of you, sweetheart." She never asked what I invented. She never asked what I won. She never even asked to see the ribbon. Meanwhile, Dad spent 30 minutes replaying Caleb's Little League practice because his coach had complimented his throwing arm. That became our family pattern. Not once, not twice. For decades. When I turned 16, I got my first job. A neighborhood bookstore. I loved every minute. The smell of paper. Quiet conversations. Helping children choose books. My manager, Linda, treated me like an adult. She trusted me. After my first paycheck, I rushed home excited. $812 after taxes. I showed Dad. He nodded. "That's responsible." Then Mom said something that sounded wonderful at the time. "We should start a family investment account." "A family account?" She smiled. "For both of you. So you'll both have help later in life." I believed every word. That afternoon, we opened the account together. Dad even let me type the first deposit. $812. I remember writing the memo. Our future. I smiled while pressing enter. I had absolutely no idea whose future I was really funding. Over the next 18 years, I contributed constantly. Birthday money, holiday bonuses, tax refunds, raises, freelance income. Every extra dollar. Whenever I hesitated, Mom reminded me, "We're building security for both of you." Those words became almost sacred. For both of you. Meanwhile, Caleb developed an interest in professional motocross racing, an incredibly expensive sport. Custom motorcycles, private coaching, travel, hotels, entry fees, replacement equipment. Every year became more expensive than the last. Whenever I asked how our investment account was growing, Dad always smiled. Very nicely. "You'll thank us someday." I never questioned him, because children don't usually imagine their own parents are lying. College changed my life. I studied accounting. Numbers made sense. Unlike people, numbers couldn't pretend. Every dollar had a trail. Every transaction left fingerprints. Looking back now, it's almost funny. My entire career trained me for the day I would eventually investigate my own family. At 23, I became a forensic accountant. Companies hired me to uncover fraud, hidden assets, financial manipulation, embezzlement. I became very good at finding things other people desperately wanted buried. I just never imagined one day those skills would be aimed at my own last name. Everything might have continued forever, if not for one ordinary Tuesday morning. I was driving to work. Rain, traffic, coffee sitting in the cup holder. My phone rang through the car speakers. Unknown number. Normally I ignored unknown calls. Something told me to answer. "Hello?" A woman's calm voice replied. "Is this Vanessa Holloway?" "Yes, my name is Rebecca Sloan. I'm calling from Mercy Regional Hospital." My stomach tightened. "Is everything okay?" There was a pause. "I'm sorry to inform you." Those 5 words changed everything. The woman on the other end of the line took a slow breath. "I'm calling about your grandmother, Margaret Holloway." I tightened my grip on the steering wheel. "My grandmother?" "Yes." "I'm very sorry. She passed away early this morning." For a few seconds, I couldn't hear anything except the windshield wipers moving back and forth. Grandma Margaret, the woman who used to sneak chocolate chip cookies into my backpack when Mom insisted I was eating too much sugar. The woman who mailed handwritten birthday cards every single year. The woman who never forgot a single accomplishment, no matter how small. I pulled my car onto the shoulder. "I'm sorry," I whispered. I didn't even know she was in the hospital. There was another silence. "I'm afraid she was admitted 5 days ago after suffering a stroke." 5 days. No one had told me. Not my father. Not my mother. Not even Caleb. The nurse continued carefully. "Your name was listed as the person she repeatedly asked for after she regained consciousness." My throat tightened. "She asked for me?" "Every day." I closed my eyes. Why wasn't I called? "I'm not entirely sure. We were informed that the family had already contacted you." I opened my eyes immediately. "What?" "The chart notes indicate that your parents told staff you had been informed, but were too busy traveling for work." My heartbeat became painfully loud. "I've been home all week. I live 20 minutes away." The nurse became very quiet. "I'm sorry. I thought you should know." I thanked her somehow. I honestly don't remember how the conversation ended. I only remember sitting in my car for almost 30 minutes while rain collected on the windshield. Someone had lied. Someone had deliberately made sure I never had the chance to say goodbye. The funeral was scheduled 3 days later. I almost didn't go. Part of me couldn't bear the thought of seeing everyone. Another part needed answers. The church was already full when I arrived. Black suits, flowers, soft organ music. People hugged each other quietly. My parents stood near the front greeting relatives. Mom noticed me first. "Oh, Vanessa. There you are." She hugged me for exactly 2 seconds. "We figured you couldn't make it." I stared at her. "What do you mean?" She blinked. You've been traveling so much. I haven't traveled anywhere, Dad interrupted before she could answer. Let's not do this today. Not today. Those 3 words had followed me my entire life. Not today. We'll talk later. Now isn't the right time. After the holidays. After Caleb's tournament. After the promotion. After things calmed down. Later never came. The service was beautiful. People shared stories about Grandma Margaret, neighbors, friends. Her church group. Everyone talked about how generous she had been. How thoughtful. How she never forgot anyone's birthday. Then an elderly woman approached the microphone. My name is Dorothy. I was Margaret's closest friend. She smiled sadly. The last thing she said to me was that she hoped Vanessa would arrive before it was too late. I felt my stomach drop. Dorothy continued. She kept asking whether anyone had reached her granddaughter. She didn't understand why Vanessa wasn't answering. The church became completely silent. I slowly turned toward my parents. Neither of them looked at me. They both stared straight ahead. After the service ended, relatives gathered in the reception hall. Coffee. Sandwiches. Quiet conversations. I found Dorothy standing alone near one of the windows. Can I ask you something? She smiled warmly. Of course. Did Grandma really keep asking for me? Dorothy nodded immediately. Every single day. She thought something terrible must have happened to you. I swallowed hard. Did my parents visit her? They came twice. And Caleb visited once. My chest tightened. So they knew. She looked confused. Knew what? That she wanted me there. Dorothy hesitated. I assumed they told you. I didn't answer. She watched my face carefully. Oh, her expression changed completely. They never told you, did they? I slowly shook my head. She covered her mouth with one hand. O.H. Margaret? That evening I returned to my apartment carrying only one thing from the funeral. Grandma's favorite cookbook. Dorothy had quietly pressed it into my hands before I left. She wanted you to have this. I placed it on my kitchen counter. As I opened the front cover, something slipped onto the floor. A folded envelope. My name was written across the front. Vanessa. In Grandma's unmistakable handwriting. My hands immediately began shaking. The envelope had never been sealed. Someone had opened it years ago. Inside was a handwritten note. Only 3 sentences. My sweet Vanessa. If you're reading this, it means I finally found a way to reach you. Please don't believe everything you've been told. I stared at those words. Again. And again. Then I noticed something else. Tucked behind the letter was a small brass key. Attached to it was a faded paper tag. Safety deposit box 214. Everything inside me suddenly went still. Grandma hadn't just left me a goodbye letter. She had left me something she never wanted anyone else to find. And for the first time in my life, I had the unmistakable feeling that my family had been hiding far more than hurt feelings. They had been hiding the truth. The safety deposit box changed everything. Not because it contained money. Because it contained the truth. When the bank manager unlocked box 214, she stepped back to give me privacy. Inside were 6 neatly organized folders. Everyone had my name written across the top. There were handwritten journals, copies of bank statements, letters, property deeds, trust documents, old family photographs, even audio cassettes labeled, "For Vanessa, if she ever needs to know." My grandmother had been preparing for years. She knew. She had known exactly what my parents were doing. The first journal explained everything. After Grandpa died, Grandma Margaret created a trust. She intended to divide everything equally. Half for me, half for Caleb. Simple, fair. Exactly what Grandpa had wanted. But 2 years later she discovered something disturbing. My parents had quietly convinced her to appoint them as co-trustees because they claimed the paperwork would be easier. Instead, they slowly began moving money. Selling investments, refinancing rental properties, using trust funds to finance Caleb's racing career. Every withdrawal was documented. Every transfer. Every signature. Grandma wrote one sentence that I still remember word for word. I fear they have mistaken my silence for blindness. She wasn't confused. She wasn't forgetful. She was documenting everything. For me, over the next month, I built the largest case of my career. Except this time, the suspects shared my last name. My accounting firm assigned 2 senior investigators. An estate attorney joined us. A forensic document examiner verified signatures. By the end, our evidence filled 11 archive boxes. The numbers were staggering. Over 14 years, more than $1.8 million had disappeared from the trust. Motocross sponsorships, private coaches, luxury RV purchases, international competitions, private schools, vehicles, vacations, even renovations to my parents' house. Everything had been paid through assets that legally belonged to both grandchildren. Meanwhile, I had paid my own tuition, my own rent, my own student loans. Every single dollar. When my attorney filed the lawsuit, my parents acted exactly as I expected. They called me dramatic, ungrateful, vindictive. Dad left 12 voicemails. Mom cried. Caleb sent one short text. There has to be some misunderstanding. I didn't answer anyone. Facts don't argue. Evidence speaks for itself. 3 months later, mediation failed. The case went to court. The courtroom was packed. Extended family, friends, former business partners, even local reporters. No one expected what happened next. My attorney called only 3 witnesses. The bank manager, the forensic accountant, Dorothy. That was enough. Then she played one of Grandma's cassette recordings. The room became silent. Grandma's voice filled the courtroom. Old, weak, perfectly clear. If Vanessa is hearing this, then I wasn't able to protect her myself. I love both of my grandchildren equally. If anyone tells Vanessa she wasn't wanted, they are lying. If anyone tells her I forgot her, they are lying. If anyone spends her inheritance without her knowledge, they are stealing from my granddaughter. Nobody moved. My father lowered his head. For the first time, he looked afraid. The judge requested a recess. 30 minutes later, my parents' attorney approached ours. They wanted to settle immediately. My attorney looked at me. The decision is yours. I thought about every birthday, every empty chair, every broken promise, every lie. Then I remembered Grandma's final recording. Don't become bitter, become free. I nodded. We'll settle. The agreement required them to repay every recoverable asset. Interest, legal fees, trust income, property appreciation. Everything. They would lose nearly everything they owned. I signed without smiling. Justice isn't revenge. It's balance. 3 weeks later, the family home was listed for sale. Their vacation cabin sold next. Then the RV. Then the motorcycles. Dad accepted early retirement. Mom found part-time work at a local library. Life became much smaller for them. Exactly as mine had always been. Caleb asked to meet 6 months later. We chose a quiet diner halfway across town. He looked exhausted. Older, not physically. Emotionally. I didn't know. I swear to you. I thought Dad was paying for everything. I believed him. He pushed an envelope across the table. Inside was a cashier's check. $48,000. My sponsorship savings. I don't want it. It belongs to you. I pushed it back. It wasn't your crime. Tears filled his eyes, but I benefited from it. Neither of us spoke for several minutes. Finally, he whispered, I don't know who I am without everyone telling me I'm the important one. I reached across the table. For the first time, you get to find out. That conversation lasted almost 2 hours. It wasn't forgiveness. It was a beginning. Nearly a year after the trial, I visited Grandma's grave alone. I placed fresh white lilies beside her headstone. Then I read one final letter aloud. A letter I had written to her after everything ended. I found the truth. You were right. The truth hurt, but living without it would have hurt forever. You gave me something far more valuable than an inheritance. You gave me proof that I mattered. That someone saw me. That someone loved me exactly as I was. The wind moved softly through the trees. For the first time in years, I felt peaceful. People still ask me whether I forgive my parents. The answer surprises them. Forgiveness was never the hardest part. Believing I deserved better was. For 34 years, I thought love was something I had to earn by asking for less, by expecting less, by disappearing. I was wrong. Real love doesn't require you to become invisible so someone else can shine. It doesn't erase your birthday. It doesn't hide letters. It doesn't steal your future to build someone else's. Today, my emergency contact isn't my mother. It isn't my father. It's my closest friend, Rachel. Family isn't always the people who raised you. Sometimes, it's the people who refuse to let you disappear. My grandmother spent years preserving the truth because she believed one day I would need it. She was right. The inheritance eventually changed my financial future. But the truth changed my life. Money can rebuild a house. Truth rebuilds a person. And after 34 years of believing I was the extra child in someone else's story, I finally became the main character in my own. I'm no longer waiting for my family to see me. I finally see myself. And that has made all the difference.